You know that picture we all have in our heads of a small town? Quiet streets, everybody knows each other, you don't even have to lock your doors. It's supposed to be a refuge. But sometimes that perfect, idyllic facade, it's hiding something really, really unsettling. So let's dive in. We're going to dissect an American nightmare. What happens when that illusion of safety completely shatters and you find out the horror was coming from inside the house all along.
This sentiment right here, this is basically the before picture. It's that low, quiet hum of everyday life in a place like Windsor, North Carolina, right up until the moment a single night of violence changes the town's identity forever. It's that awful realization that evil isn't just something you see on TV.
See, we have this powerful myth of the American small town, right? It's safe, it's simple, it's a place you run to for safety. But the stories we're looking at, they reveal this really dark flip side. That same neighborliness can create a suffocating isolation. That simple trust, it can curdle into paranoia and suspicion. And all of a sudden, you realize you haven't escaped danger, you're actually trapped in a fishbowl with it.
So here's our roadmap for this whole explainer. We're going to start with that myth, then look at how the darkness actually takes root. We'll see the moment it all just erupts, and this part is absolutely crucial, we're going to analyze the wall of silence that goes up afterward, and the scars that, well, they just never really fade.
Okay, so let's start with that illusion, that feeling of safety. We're talking about places where you can't go to the store without running into 5 people you know, where life just feels predictable. A perfect example is Windsor before the horrible massacre at the Belo grocery store.
I mean, these details just paint the picture perfectly, don't they? Fewer than 2,000 people. The main landmarks are a grocery store and a gas station. Life was so quiet, so neighborly, that the idea of real, true evil felt like it belonged in another world, something that happened somewhere else to someone else.
So, how does this darkness even start? Well, the most terrifying part of all these stories is that the threat isn't some shadowy stranger rolling into town. No, the monster is already inside the gates. It's someone you know, someone you probably trust, someone you wave to every single day.
And this is a key idea, the insider threat. The real danger isn't just the one person with dark secrets. It's how the very nature of a small town, that trust, that familiarity, can accidentally act as a perfect shield, letting those secrets fester completely undetected. And you know, there is no more haunting example of this than a man named Charlie Roberts.
Just look at this profile. The sheer, terrifying normalcy of it all is just chilling. Charlie Roberts was the local milk tank driver in the Amish community of Nickel Mines. He was on their farms constantly. He knew these families. He was a husband and a father himself. But underneath all that was a man so full of rage and dark urges that he was secretly plotting something truly atrocious. So this is that moment, the rupture. It's when years of that hidden rage, those simmering secrets, finally just boil over and explode into this unbelievable violence. It shatters the town's peace, not in a day, but in a matter of minutes.
Look how fast it all fell apart. In 37 minutes, that's all it took for Charlie Roberts to go from a familiar face to the man behind a massacre. He walked in, barricaded the doors, let the boys go, and then just unleashed all his rage on the little girls before turning the gun on himself. It was horrifyingly fast.
10. That was the number. 10 little girls between the ages of 6 and 13 were lined up against a chalkboard and shot. It's not just the violence itself, but the cold, calculated, specific targeting of it. That's what's so impossible to wrap your head around.
That brutal efficiency we saw in Nickel Mines, well, that kind of calculated horror isn't a one-off. Back in Windsor, at that grocery store, the killer followed an equally chilling procedure. This wasn't just some spontaneous act of rage. It was a ritual. He used dog leashes from aisle 3. He stacked human beings like they were objects. And that final chilling line, "God forgive me," right before he opened fire, it just shows this was a man who knew exactly what he was doing.
So here's the thing, and this is maybe the most critical point. The violence itself is only Act 1. The second act, and you could argue it's even more insidious, is how a small town reacts. It's pure self-preservation. To admit that a monster grew up right there among them, that would shatter their entire identity. So sometimes a town builds a wall of silence, not to protect the truth, but to protect a lie that it can live with.
You can just feel the desperation in this quote, can't you? It's from the woman who saw a child get thrown down a well in Iowa. She's an outsider, and she is screaming a terrible truth to a community that is institutionally designed not to hear it.
She knows. She knows a child's life is on the line.
Now, this isn't just some misunderstanding. This is a systematic dismantling of a person's reality. The authorities don't just disbelieve her. They actively work to invalidate her, they tell her she's seeing things, they question her sanity, they literally produce a stand-in child as false evidence, and then finally, they threaten her with arrest just to make her disappear. The town is closing ranks.
And if you want an example of a lie that held on for an entire generation, we have to go to Medicine Bow, Wyoming. Here, an entire community conspired to literally turn reality inside out. They manufactured a monster out of a man named Bob Barnes, all to cover up a much, much uglier truth.
Okay, just look at this contrast. The lie was simple and easy. Bob Barnes is a killer. The truth? It was monstrously complex. Bob was actually a hero who stopped a predator. And the narrator's own mother? She wasn't grieving a friend. She was one of the kids who was there that night, who let an innocent man take the fall for the rest of his life.
The thing is, the horror doesn't just stop when the gunshots fade, or when the lie finally takes hold. For the people who saw the truth, who tried to speak it, or who were the direct victims of it, the aftermath is basically a life sentence.
So what does it actually cost to know the truth in a town that's built on a lie? Well, these stories show us the price is incredibly high. We're talking about estrangement from your own family, like the narrator in Medicine Bow, whose relationship with his mother was just destroyed. We're talking about leaving your entire community and even your faith behind. And for some, it's just being forever haunted by what you saw, and by the fact that no one else would ever acknowledge it.
And this quote from Bob Barnes, man, it is just absolutely heartbreaking. It explains everything about why he chose to be isolated. He chose to live his life as an outcast because the alternative, living among the people who knew the truth and chose the lie, watching them grow up and have their own families, was simply unbearable.
And that right there, that's the central takeaway. The initial crime is, of course, terrifying. But it's that second crime, the communal cover-up, the gaslighting, the collective decision to protect a comfortable lie over a painful truth, that's what reveals the absolute deepest horror of the small-town nightmare.
Which leaves all of us with this one, final, really unsettling question. In a town where everyone knows your name, who gets to decide which secrets to keep?